Hi, and welcome back to part 2 of our research workshop. If you remember, the majority of our page is taken up with those search results, those 1,625 articles that we need to take a look at. Remember, all of these articles, all 625 of them, you are going to be able to see in full text. So let's take a look at article number 2. The title, Investigating Surface Water Pollution by Integrated Remotely Sensed and Field Spectral Measurement Data, a Case Study. So we're going to click on that title, which is a live link. And this is where we take 2 or 3 steps closer to being able to actually read the article. The page that now it should be displaying on your screen is a very important page, even though it is not the article itself yet. So what we see on this particular section is we are seeing all of those bibliographic pieces of information that once we read this article, we determine that there is information in this article that could be used in our paper on water pollution. So you will notice that again we see a repeat of the title, and as we continue down the page we can see that we have 2 authors of this paper, of this article. We also find what journal, because we were looking for academic journal sources, what journal this article was published in. And in this case, we see that the source is the Polish Journal of Environmental Studies. As we continue along that line, we see that the article was published in 2019, that it starts on page 2139 and continues through the end of page 2144, and the article in its entire length is 6 pages. Again, as we move down and looking at these important pieces of information that we see here, we have subject terms. We know, if you can recollect, that we typed in water pollution for the source, our topic that we were looking for. Had we typed in just the word water, or if perhaps we had talked about water quality, or water supply, or chemical oxygen demand, we would have also found this article in a listing had we typed in water pollution, water, water quality, or water supply. Sometimes we don't type in, when we start a search, we don't type in perhaps the very best word or phrase that we could have. So sometimes it takes a little bit of looking around or a little bit of thinking, and there's nothing wrong with taking out a piece of paper and grabbing your pencil or your pen and writing down different things that you typed, different terms that you typed in the search box, because we aren't always lucky enough to hit on the correct term. And there's no reason why we can't always do that. So these would be other appropriate terms, all those that you see there with the subject terms listing. Those would all be other applicable topics that you could have typed in and still received this as part of your article listing. Notice as we continue on down the page, we do see an abstract, and an abstract is basically a summary of the article. And in this particular case, we can see at the end of the abstract that it was written by the author. So this is what the author feels are the most important points of their article. And if we look quickly, 2, 3, probably have 7 or 8 sentences. And so we don't want to rely on that abstract to tell us all of the content of our 6-page article in about 10 sentences or less. As we've come back up to the top of our page, we see that we now have the ability to look at this article in its entirety by once again focusing over on the left-hand side of our screen, where we have an option to see a PDF full text of this article. So go ahead and click that link. And as it was loading there, you can see it has come back up with the title. And I'm going to scroll down. This is an academic paper, so you do have the abstract, which starts the paper, introduces the paper. And then we do have a formal introduction. Also very important, let me scroll back up and remind you, here is our page number. So if you are going to use any content from this article or any article where you find content, when you do your in-text citations, those page numbers can become very, very important when you are doing your in-text citation. It tells you what its experimentals were, how they went about those experiments. We have some information found in a table and figures and charts. These are all things that are characteristic of an academic journal. 6 pages is probably considered something fairly short in the journal world, which is what the length of this article is. And then as we finish up the paper, notice that you have a heading for conclusions that they came to based on their study, and then you're also provided with references, which if you were interested, you could search for those articles or ask us in the library to possibly get those for you. So we have come to the end of our paper. I'm going to go ahead and scroll up, and I shouldn't have used the term paper there. I should have used the term article. So this is the article in its entirety. We've spent a great deal of time in the center section of our screens, and also in previous screens we spent a lot of time over here on the left hand side of our screen. Now we are going to turn our attention to the right hand side of the screen, and this is an area where you can find lots of helpful pieces of information, things that are going to be very important to you as you put your paper together after you make the choices of which articles you're going to use. If you have a printer at home in today's current situation and you want to print it, by all means, feel free. You have that ability as long as you've got paper and ink. The second icon there is for email. So if you are somebody who, instead of printing things, would like to keep track of things electronically, you could click the email option, and it literally brings up a very small window, and it wants to know where you want to send this article. You simply supply your email address. It could be your Ivy Tech account. I'm sure that you probably have a Hotmail account or a Gmail account or a Google account. So wherever you would like to send it is perfectly fine with us. You are not required to use your Ivy Tech email. So we are on this page where the article is still displaying down here for us. So if we email this, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in my address, barring the fact that I have made any typos, I should have this and I can put it in plain text, which makes it a little easier to read sometimes. I'm literally going to hit send, but before I do that, I'm going to choose a citation format. And our English students are now writing and formatting their papers in the form of APA, or for the American Psychological Association. So I have changed that citation format through the use of that drop-down menu. I've changed that to APA, and now I can come over and hit send. And it wants to confirm my email address, and I said yes. So while I'm continuing on with our presentation, I know safely that that article is already sitting in my inbox wanting attention from me the next time I go in and check my email. The next icon that we're going to talk about is the cite option. So if I pop open that citation paper, through the magic of this wonderful database, you will find this option in probably all 85 plus of our academic databases that we make available to our students. Notice that the listing here is quite lengthy of the different formatting styles that are used across the world, but we are concerned with an APA citation. So in alphabetical order, once I locate APA, it's just above the Chicago Turabian. If you did not already know, you're going to list all of the sources that you use for your paper on the very last page of your paper entitled References. And I am going to highlight, whoops, everyone makes mistakes, and I just made one for sure. So I have highlighted the citation, and now I can go in and pull up my copy and paste menu, and I can click copy. And if I have my Word document down here on my screen where I'm working on my paper, after I click copy, then I can simply paste it in to my Word document, and you have been given at least what I consider a working citation, instead of having to create that citation for an article that you may have used. You get some extra bonus help by being able to copy and paste a citation. So extra help, I can tell you, when I was a college student, I didn't have that luxury, and I sure could have used it because I had some really worn out pages on my citation manual. Notice that in the citation, it includes the authors. However, notice it does not list for you the author's first name, and that is typical because APA formatting only uses the first letter of the author's first name and then the author's last name. You may be more accustomed to MLA, especially if you're coming directly out of high school, but the year in which that article was published, what was written, actually comes directly behind the authors. Then you have your title of the article that we have been looking at, followed by the journal in which it was published. You get the volume and issue number, the pages that the article took up in the particular edition, and then a notation for the digital object identifier, which is a very specific alphabetical and numeric sequence showing you it's only attached to this particular article, and it lends credibility that this is an excellent source. So once you have pulled your citation, that's all you're going to need to do for this particular author. And not only can this come in handy on your references page for your final product, final research paper, but it also can come in very handy when you do your annotations. So I'm going to click out of that link, and we are just about out of time. So I'm going to stop recording too, and we will pick up where we left off. Stay tuned.